I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and today is Monday. I had to think for a second. For some reason, I felt like it was Tuesday. It's been a busy day, but busy in a good way. And for those who may not know, this is my daily thought. The Keeping It Real with KC show is a weekend show, but I do my daily thought during the week. You can follow my daily thought and Keeping It Real with KC. KIRWKC.com is the main podcasting website. Obviously, you can watch on YouTube and Daily Motion when I upload the videos. Okay, I will do my best not to make this long. The reason it it could be long is because there's so many metaphors in this. It's difficult, but I'm going to do my best. I promise to those watching and those listening. All right. As you noticed, the title of the episode, From the Ground Up. This is a true story. True story. There was a house not far from me. This house was a regular house, but over time, I don't know if the owners were foreclosed on or what the deal was. But something happened where the owners obviously had to leave. So then, over time, the house became run down. There were people who would go in the house and do questionable things, to say the least. And just other stuff happened with this house. It really took a beating over a certain period of time. After a while, the home was condemned by the city. Okay. Once it was condemned, they tore the entire house down. All you could see were just bits and pieces of what used to be the home. Later, after the remains of what was crushed and damaged was moved away, the land that the house once sat on was bought. Once the land was bought, trucks came in and started digging this huge hole. It was ridiculously big. And I'm just like, wow, okay. They're digging this huge hole. Then more workers came in and started running pipes through the hole and also setting up concrete as well. So they're running pipes, setting up concrete, all in this huge hole. And then they brought in the bricklayers and started setting up the bricks and everything else, and adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And all of this is happening over the course of several years. And of course, setting up the electricity, doing all of the utilities and sewage and everything that needs to be set up while they're building. And now, this building, the construction workers are almost finished with it. It is an apartment building. The reason I thought about that is because I remember when I would drive sometimes when I lived on the East Coast. it seemed like the joke was that me and my mother would always say is, did they parachute that whatever it was in there? Because it's like you drive by one day and it wasn't there, but you drive by the next day and they have a brand new restaurant. But for this apartment building that was built, the reason it just sticks with me is because I've watched the entire process of how it used to be a home, but then the home was tore down. Then the hole was dug. Then the pipes were laid. Then the concrete was laid. Every time I would pass by this area over the months, they were always adding something new. They were always building it from the ground up because they couldn't just parachute the apartment building into the area. As great as that would have been, and I'm sure that day will come when technology finally gets to the level it needs to be at. But that particular apartment building, having the privilege to see everything they did from start to almost finish, because they're almost finished with it now. They haven't finished it yet, but they're almost there. They'll probably be finished in about, I'm guessing we're in September. They'll probably be finished by summer of next year, give or take. But to see where it's come from, what it was, and what it is now is really something amazing. I bring from the ground up to you because that is how a lot of things work. Nothing is overnight, no matter how much it may seem on the outside like it was. I'll give you an example. Kylie Jenner. She did her makeup line. You think that she just woke up one day and said, oh, I'm going to do makeup. It didn't work like that. What happened behind the scenes, she mentioned it to her mother. Her mother, Chris, went to all of these cosmetic manufacturers. All of this was happening behind the scenes so she could learn about cosmetic manufacturing. She didn't just walk in and say, okay, I want to start a line, and then they just did it. It didn't work like that. Her mother went to all the cosmetic manufacturers in the area within California and was gathering all of this information, building everything from the ground up, setting up the marketing, doing this, doing that. There were so many things that happened behind the scenes that when she released her lip line, people think that, oh, she's Kylie Jenner, she's part of the Kardashian clan. She just does it and it happens. It didn't happen like that. It's very rare in life anything just happens when it comes to success. It usually has to be built from the ground up. With Jay-Z, I'll use that as an example. Jay-Z was turned down by several record labels, like record label after record label after record label after record label. They were telling him he was too old. They were questioning how hardcore he was. It was a whole bunch of stuff. And eventually, all of his work, because he kept working and working and working behind the scenes, he was able to get a hit. And then, of course, the rest is history, because I mean, Jay-Z is Jay-Z. Walt Disney, same thing, which I'm sure I told the Walt Disney story before. Walt Disney filed for bankruptcy 3 or 4 times. You can look it up. He didn't become a success until later. But throughout the process of pursuing success, there were things happening behind the scenes. People always remember the success, but they don't remember what it took to get there. But in order to get there, you have to build it from the ground up. It just doesn't happen. And that's something that I've noticed with the mentality of people. And I'm not going to say generation, millennials or generation this or generation that. It just seems like it's people in general. Like now. And it just doesn't happen like that. There are technological advancements that can help expedite the process of securing certain things or completing certain goals. But there's still things that have to be done to build it from the ground up. And when I think about how things move slow for myself sometimes, because now I have more listeners. I didn't even know until I was looking at the analytics, and I'm like, oh, more people are listening now. That's pretty cool on both my channels. It didn't just happen. I keep on putting out episodes because the goal is consistency. Consistency and perseverance are 2 things that people should always have. But I always tell myself I'm building what I'm doing from the ground up. I can't just wake up one day and have 1 million followers or 1 million listeners or $25 million in the bank. It doesn't work like that. It has to be built from the ground up. Just like that apartment building that I've watched over the years, I'm sure the owner of the apartment building would have loved to just snap his fingers or her fingers and it just appears. But there were things that happened behind the scenes when it comes to securing the land, when it comes to setting up the deeds, when it comes to dealing with the attorneys, when it comes to setting up stuff with the utilities, when it comes to speaking with the architects for the blueprint plans, when it comes to deciding is that location the best location for the building or would another location be better, when it comes to deciding what is the pricing for the rentals in that area to determine if they're going to see an ROI, return on investment. There's so many things that happen behind the scenes, not just physically with building it from the ground up, but also administratively building it from the ground up. Things don't just happen. And if they do, it's very rare. Anything that you acquire, most things that you acquire, it will have to be built from the ground up if it's related to success. That's just the way it is. And yes, you can work smarter, not harder. There are ways to do that. I'm not saying constantly work and work and work if there's something that can expedite the process that is within reason. And that doesn't take away from the quality of your work or the quality of how your work will be perceived. But that was the thought on my mind, because I have other thoughts, obviously, but that one stuck out because I keep on thinking about that apartment building and how it went from a home to being demolished, to being a hole in the ground, to being concrete and pipes, to being bricks, to being multi-level, to having the garage, and soon I believe it's going to have a swimming pool on top of it, and everything else. From how it went from all of that to what it is now, a luxury apartment. It was built from the ground up. And that's what you will have to do with most things in life that are related to success. You'll have to build it from the ground up. And that's my daily thought. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for those who have been listening. I appreciate all of you more than you know. KIRWKC.com. As for the episodes that were uploaded on Keeping It Real with KC this past weekend, don't forget to check those out. I did a movie recommendation. I did an episode on learning how to steal my heart. And also I did an episode talking about you're not a time traveler. And of course, I will have more Keeping It Real with KC episodes this coming weekend. But during the week, I will have my daily thought. Thank you again. I appreciate you more than you will ever know. Be blessed.